Have you mastered the English language? Are you between 25 and 35 years old? Have you made a difference in your community? Are you Malagasy or Comorian and live in sub-Saharan Africa? You are the young leader we are looking for to benefit from a 6-week leadership course at a top American university and interact with extraordinary American government, civic, and business leaders. Apply for the Mandela Washington Fellowship 2018. The online application is now open on yali.state.gov from September 13th to October 11th. Don't miss this opportunity.
Okay, so first, thank you all for coming today to this IRC Friday Talk. My name is Amy Kornbluth, and I'm the Assistant Public Affairs Officer here at the U.S. Embassy. And I'm going to talk to you today about YALI, the 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship. I'm going to first start by telling you about YALI overall. YALI stands for the Young African Leaders Initiative. And it's been running since 2010. It was started in 2010 by former President Barack Obama. And YALI is actually 3 parts. The first part, which I will tell you more about later, is the Mandela Washington Fellowship. That's the fellowship where the fellows from across Africa go to the United States for 6 weeks. They study at a university, they study leadership, and they study their area of interest, and they also learn how to network with their colleagues and with others in the United States. And then they return to their country, in this case Madagascar, and they're fellows for the following year, where they have opportunity for other scholarships and other grants to work on their projects. There's also the RLC, the Regional Leadership Centers, which is managed by USAID. And from here, the YALI RLC fellows do the same type of study in South Africa, in Pretoria. And that is offered several times each year. And then finally, and something I would encourage you all to sign up for, is the YALI Network. The YALI Network is an online network only, where you can access training and you can also network with others. So if there's a project you're interested in doing, you could find others from across Africa who are doing something similar, and you can talk to them, you can ask them for advice, in some cases you can partner with them. But the YALI Network is open to everyone. And so I encourage you all to sign up. Whether or not you apply for YALI 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship, you should sign up for the YALI Network to have access to that training. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay. Well, then let me tell you about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. The application opened on September 13th for the YALI 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship, and it's open until October 11th. So you have about 3 more weeks to apply if you would like to. And if the fellowship isn't for you, please tell your friends, your family, your colleagues. If you think they qualify, the Mandela Washington Fellowship is a self-selecting fellowship, which means that you must apply yourself. If you think you qualify and the fellowship interests you, you go onto the website, yali.state.gov. It's also on your handout, where you can see the instructions, you can see the frequently asked questions, and you find the application itself. So you go onto the website to apply. And what it is, it's a 6-week leadership fellowship. We're trying to find the most promising young leaders from all across Africa to train you and give you the necessary skills to take whatever it is you do to that next level. So we expect that the YALI Mandela Washington Fellows will be the leaders of their countries in 10 years, 20 years from now. And this training will prepare you for that. And so this year we are looking for 700 fellows from all across Africa. The number isn't necessarily set for Madagascar, but we expect about 11 fellows from Madagascar and 3 from Comoros this year. And so when you apply, I'll talk a little bit about the different tracks now and how you apply and things to think about when you are applying. Okay? For the Mandela Washington Fellowship, there are 3 different categories of fellows. There's business and entrepreneurship, and which is self-explanatory. There's civic leadership, typically those that are working in the NGO world or in the nonprofit sector. And then there's public management. Public management is typically for government employees, those that are working for the government ministries, institutions, and also academic institutions, so universities as well. Those are the 3 different categories. And you would apply to the category that best fits your experience so far, as well as your future goals. Okay? And when you apply, you will be asked a few questions. So these are very important to think about. You will be asked to answer essay questions in English on things like, tell us why you're interested in the Yali Mandela Washington Fellowship. What do you hope to achieve by being a Yali Fellow? Tell us about your experience so far. Give us an example of a time when you showed leadership, for example. Or give us an example of a time when you overcame a challenge in your life. And that could be at home, it could be in your community, it could be in your professional life, it could be at school, university. Whatever that is, give us a time when you overcame a challenge. We will also want to know about how you give back to your communities. So that could be, again, that could be anything you do, but how are you working even now to make your community better? And then very importantly, what do you see yourself doing down the road? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even longer. How do you think Yali will help you? What do you want to achieve in your professional life? How do you hope to give back to your community even more once you are very successful, right? Then what will you do? So we want to find people who typically the rules are generally between 25 and 35 years old, although we will consider those that are not yet 25 years old if they have exceptional experience already. Right, so if you can demonstrate that you have already shown leadership and you're not yet 25, we will consider those applicants. You also must be able to speak English proficiently. So for example, do you understand me now?
Yes.
Great. Then you all speak enough English, right? So you must speak English. You must be generally between 25 or 35, although we will consider those that are younger if they have shown exceptional leadership already. And you must demonstrate, yes, that you have already shown leadership in your community and that you have a vision for the future, right? So we want to see what you've done already and what you will do in the future. Okay, is that clear so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then, once you apply by October 11th, again, you go onto the website, yali.state.gov, you choose your track, either business and entrepreneurship, civic leadership, or public management. You fill out the essay questions. You tell us how wonderful you are. You tell us what you've done, what you plan to do, how you give back to your community. You show us in those essays why you are a leader already and how the Yali Mandela Washington Fellowship will help you get to that next level. Okay? So you've done that. And you've done that by October 11th. You've submitted it. Then we read every application. So last year we had about 500 applications between Madagascar and Comoros for 15 slots in Madagascar and 3 in Comoros. So it was very competitive, and we expect it to be as competitive, if not more so, this year, because we have around 11 slots for Madagascar and 3 for Comoros. So make sure your essays are strong and tell us how great you are and why you should be chosen. We read every single one. We put together a whole team of readers so that at least 2 people read every application. And then we invite those that are the best on paper in for an interview. So that will be the next step. Applications will be submitted by October 11th. And then between October and December, really October, November, we will read the applications. Then we will invite those that we have scored as the best applications. We'll invite them in for an interview. The interviews in Madagascar and in Comoros will probably take place in January this year. So that will be January of 2018. Then, after we've done all of the interviews and we have chosen our slate of fellows, we will notify everyone mid to late March of next year. So at that stage, those that have been selected as Yali Mandela Washington Fellows for 2018 will be notified of the pre-departure orientation, and that takes place in April or May every year. And that's when the fellows come to the embassy. We tell them what to expect. We tell them all about the program. They have, at that stage, they've already been notified of what university in the U.S. they'll be studying at, and they know their track: business entrepreneurship, civic leadership, or public management. So it's a full day of orientation where we talk about the program. They'll also go for their visa interviews to get their visas to the U.S. at that time. And then the fellowship itself takes place late June, or mid to late June, let's say, through the end of July or early August. 6 weeks in the U.S. There are some who will be chosen for the professional development experience, which is an internship in addition to the fellowship. That lasts for 6 weeks more. So those who are chosen for the professional development experience will then spend 12 weeks in the United States. 6 weeks doing the fellowship and 6 weeks doing their internship, and then they will return. So for example, we are having a reception next week for the Yali 2017 Mandela Washington Fellows. And those that went for the fellowship came back already, and those that stayed on for the professional development experience have come back or are coming back about now. So once everyone is back, we will then meet with them to talk about what they learned, to talk about their experience, and then that will also help us do the orientation for next year's Mandela Washington Fellows. Is that clear so far?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So the fellowship itself, there are typically about 25 fellows that go to a university, one university. So last year there were over 30 universities that in the United States that hosted Mandela Washington Fellows, about 25 in each location, right? And they are typically put together by their track. So, for example, the Business and Entrepreneurship Fellows will be at the same university as others in that area. Same with civic leadership, and same with public management. And they will go through the 6 weeks of worth of coursework together. And so for those 6 weeks, they will take the same classes. So they will learn about putting together a leadership development plan and how important that is. So that's looking 6 months out, 1 year out, 5 years out, 10 years out, and putting together a plan for your own development and what you want to achieve in that time. They will also learn networking skills. So do you know what an elevator pitch is? No? It's when you tell someone about yourself in 1 minute or less. When you introduce yourself and you tell them what you do, right, and what you are looking to do. So let's say I own a paper company, right? So I would introduce myself and say, hello, my name is Amy Kornbluth. I'm from Madagascar, and I own a paper company. I have 5 employees now, but I'm looking to grow my business to have 20 employees within 5 years. And I'm also working in the community to work with the local school so that we can help people learn to read and write and excel in school, so that I will also have more employees for my business down the road. And I would like to talk to you today about funding for my business. And you go on, right? So it's just a short way of introducing yourself to tell someone who you are, what you do, and what you would like to discuss with them. Okay, so they learn things like that. They also do community outreach. So they do volunteering in the community wherever it is their fellowship is in the United States. They give back to the community there as well. Again, reinforcing the idea of excellence through leadership, which of course Yali is, but also commitment to giving back to your community. That's also what Yali is about. We want people to succeed, but we also want them to help make their entire country better. And so that's what we're looking for with the Yali Fellows from Madagascar and also from Comoros. We want you to go to learn to make yourself better, but then to be inspired to come back and also help out your communities, right? And what we've learned through the fellows that have already gone to the United States and come back is that people are generally inspired. They learn so much, and also it opens your horizons. Because they're at a university with fellows from across Africa, there's a great deal of diversity even there. Because they're interacting with people from different cultures all across Africa, in addition to their counterparts in the United States. So there are leaders from the business community, from the nonprofit community, from government, who come in and speak to the fellows in the United States, and they can also network with them. But they also network with their colleagues across Africa. So that's part of what makes the experience so special. So that's what YALI is. I think I'll stop now and see if you have any questions or comments about YALI. Do you have questions about the application process or the interview process? Anything related to that?
I have a question.
Yes?
Last year, I wanted to apply for YALI, but the problem is that they need a number of the passport. So we can't apply if we don't have passport, or we can.
Well, you will eventually need a passport because you need a passport in order to apply for the visa, right? We will have to, I will give you my card and I will get back to you as to whether or not you need that at the time you apply. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Remind me to give you my card before we go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes? Yes.
So if we are not a government official, we cannot apply for the public management?
Well, you can
Process.
always apply, but you will be more competitive if you apply for the track where you have the most experience. Okay? So for example, what do you do now?
I'm studying.
You're studying. What are you studying?
Management?
Management.
Yes.
And so your goal is to go into public management?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you can demonstrate how you've already shown leadership in your studies, then that would be one way to apply. So you need to tell us what you've done, how you've worked with people, how you've shown yourself as a leader already. And then why going then for the public management track will help you advance to that next level. So it is possible, as long as you show us you know what it is and you know why that's what you want to do. Is that clear? Okay. All right. Yes.
For example, for me, I have a project for the civic leadership,
Okay.
but the problem is I don't have any experience.
Uh-huh.
So I can apply, or if there is no experience, I can't.
Well, I'm sure you have experience in something.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
I'm studying.
You're studying.
Yeah.
And have you done any work in your community? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you can talk about that. You should talk about that in your application. Right? And how your experience at university and in your community will then help you make your project a success. Okay? It's true that the applicants who do have experience, already having done something, something outside of university, though they are the most competitive, right? But if you can show us that you've taken the initiative to give back to your community while you are studying, that you've already shown leadership, and that the Yali Mandela Washington Fellowship will help you take that to the next level, then you could also be competitive. Okay? It depends. How old did you say you are?
27.
27. So you have time as well. You can always apply. And the thing is, if you apply this year and are not selected, you can always apply next year. In fact, going through the process might help you learn more about it and might make you a more competitive candidate even for the next year. So there's no harm in applying this year. If you think you might be ready but you're not sure, you can apply and go through the process. But then you should then use the next year to gain even more experience and then apply again next year.
Okay.
question is, I have an English club in Manali,
Oh, great.
and with 8 young leaders, and I find that they don't know well how to lead students. So can they apply for this program?
They can apply, yes. Anyone can apply, as I said, as long as they meet the criteria of being between 25 and 35, or in some cases younger, if they have great experience and speak English, they can apply. However, they will be more competitive if they can already demonstrate signs of leadership, right? So for Yali, we want people who will already show us that they're doing great things, that they are exceptional in whatever it is they do. And we will then train them to take it to the next level, to become even stronger leaders, to do even more professionally and in their community. So they can apply, but Yali is not meant to teach leadership to those who haven't demonstrated it yet. It's to make those who have already demonstrated signs of being a leader even stronger. They might also want to look at the Yali network in that case, because there are online courses through the Yali network that are open to everyone. So I would recommend for your English club that they also look at the Yali network and they all sign up and take classes as a first step. There are leadership classes online. So they can start there, learn from that, and then they can apply this year, or if they would like, they can apply those skills that they learn through the online courses and then perhaps apply in the future. Either one, but they are welcome to apply. But those that have already shown signs of leadership are generally the most competitive. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you can be next. Yes. And then I'll go to you after. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have 2 questions. The first one is how to sign up into Yali Network. And
Okay.
the second one is there is any degrees you request for being an Yali for a Yali application?
Well, I'll answer your second question first.
Yes.
There is no degree required.
Okay.
The minimum requirements, as I said, are between 25 and 35.
Mhm.
Although younger, we will consider, and to speak English
Okay.
proficiently. The degree is not required. We just will need you to show us again what you have already done, why you've already shown signs of being a leader,
Mhm.
how you give back to your community, and how you think Yali will help you in your future goals.
Sure.
Now, to access the Yali network, you can find a link to it on the website yali.state.gov.
Yali.
If you go
Same.
there,
Mhm.
you will also find a link to the network, and then you can go there and sign up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
My question was is about the Yali network as
Yes.
well. I'd like to know if there is a fee for the
There's no fee.
subscription.
It's
for free.
it's free.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Kim.
Hello, Kim.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You too.
I'm sorry I was a little bit late.
It's okay.
So I applied for Mandela Washington Fellowship 3 times.
Okay.
The first one was I was 24, and this is my 4th time, of course. Then, so I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Why the number of the leaders? I see 700.
Yes.
So I think last year it was 1,000.
It was 1,000. Yeah.
So I want to know why.
Okay.
And the second one is I always applied for the civic leadership track, and of course I will still remain this track for this next fellowship. So I just want to have some tips,
Yeah.
What are kind of tips, because maybe my weaknesses was about my project is not really clear enough. So any tips about how to be more really successful about it?
Okay. Well, first I will answer your first question. It's a good question. The number last year there were 1,000 fellows from across Africa, and this year there are 700, and that's mostly for administrative reasons. 1,000 fellows logistically, it's a lot to manage, and so our partners in Washington who administer the YALI Fellowship felt it would be more manageable and to manage 700. When it started, it was 500. So it grew from 500 up to 1,000. So now we're in the middle. Now we're down. Now we're back at 700. So it's really for administrative reasons. Okay? And your second question, it's hard to answer without saying exactly what you wrote. But I would say if you're applying for civic leadership track, we want you to clearly tell us why you're interested in YALI and how you think it will help you. We want you to tell us about your experience. So what have you already done that has shown leadership in the civic leadership field? Right? And so tell us what you have done, what your project is, what your experience is, and how you have shown leadership in your work so far. We want you to tell us how you have already given back and contributed to your community. Right? So what do you do now that helps your community in addition to advancing your own professional goals? Right? And what is your vision for the future? So once you learn everything you will learn from the fellowship and you meet so many people, how will you then use that to take your projects, whatever it is you do, to the next level? And how will that help you give back even more to your community? So that's really what we want to see. We want to see that you've already demonstrated leadership through your work and you've already given back to your community, and that you can do even more after you're a Mandela Washington Fellow. Does that help you?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Yes?
Yeah.
What is your project? What have you talked about in the past?
Because like I am like former president of one English speaking based organization in Fenaros.
Okay.
In Fenaros, not here.
Yeah.
I'm a visitor here, I'm not from Tana.
Uh-huh.
And I want to develop this organization, like to do more for the community, because we help people to improve their English skills. For example, we go to the radio station and give free English teaching session on the radio.
Yeah.
And we give like free English meeting, a weekly English meeting, like for those who want to improve their
Okay.
English. But we do as well some community services, like in education, we give like training for teachers, like how to teach English, and we promote like health by doing sensitization, like on the radio, for example, during Malaria Day, and trying to help like communities like to be aware of the situation.
Great.
And then as well, we about environment, we do some 3 hours away tree plantation and trash cleanup, like
Yeah.
so we do kind of thing like that, and I want to develop this organization, like within the training that I get from the ALI.
Mm-hmm.
So my project is like in the future is like to develop the objectives of the organization. For example, to correct the language barrier of the young people, because of the language barrier, it's like related to the unemployment that we have like in Madagascar as well.
Mm-hmm.
So help people like to find job and another to break the unemployment as well. So help people like to build their personal brand, for example, to help them like how to be successful in the interview, to write like a good resume, and so that is my plan like in the future.
Great.
So that is what
And are you doing this as a volunteer now, or is it a paid position?
Sorry.
Are you? Is it a job, or do you do that as a volunteer? That you do it for no pay?
So my plan is like to, because the Tiantol is the name of the organization. So Tiantol is doing like some volunteering thing, but
Do you get paid now? Do you
No.
get a salary
no,
from that?
no,
You don't. So
It's
what
like
do you
my
do
profit.
outside of the organization?
outside.
Yes,
I'm a self-employed person.
you.
Self-employed.
You're self-employed.
Yes.
Okay, so you should talk about both, not just the organization, but you might also want to talk about what you do for work as well. So how you support yourself, and then also how you give back through this organization. Yeah? Does that help you?
I think so.
Okay, good luck to you this year. Other questions? Comments? Yes, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Lionel. I want to apply for yali.
Yes? And I also have these for you, you that came later. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I am 24 years old.
Okay.
And, I wish to be 25 years old. 2018. Can I apply?
You can apply, yes. We will consider candidates that are not yet 25 years old, as long as they have shown that they are already leaders in what they do, right? So that they have shown great promise through what they've already done, through their existing experience, and that they have already given back to their communities. And so we have chosen Yali Mandela Washington Fellows, absolutely, that are not yet 25. It is more challenging to be competitive when you are not yet 25, only because you just don't yet have as much experience as others who are applying. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. If you can demonstrate that in fact you already have great experience, and that Yali will help you take your plans, your career goals, and your goals for the community to the next level, then absolutely you would be competitive. Okay? So the short answer is yes, you can apply.
And the last question, of experience, I have many experience, but I don't have proper proof.
You don't have
Papers.
papers, okay? Well, for Yali, for this application, we don't need to see paperwork. You just need to tell us. So you need to be able to express yourself. You need to clearly, through the essays, so you can go online even today, after this session, you can go to yali.state.gov, find the application, and look at the questions, and start thinking about your answers. So we just need you to clearly tell us about your experience, right? And about your goals for the future. In fact, here is one tip for everyone. Because the internet connection can be unreliable, one thing you might want to consider is to go to the website, look at the questions, pull the questions out, print them or save them to a Word document, for example. Write your answers in a Word document. And then when you're ready, go back to the website and just copy and paste your answers in. That way you will have your answers. If, for example, the internet connection goes out, you won't lose everything because you already have it in the Word document. So that, or you can even write it by hand, whatever is easiest for you. But go to the website, look at the questions, write out your answers separately, either in Word or on paper, whatever's best for you. And then when you're satisfied, go back and submit it all online.
Question.
Yes.
Like I just said, like we have to demonstrate our sense of leaderships to our community. So, like I mean, is it obligatory to have to be like in organizations and help society to about your fields and demonstrate your fields as a leadership?
It is not required to be in any organization. However, we want people who really care about improving their communities and improving the future of Madagascar, right? And so, we want, it's great to be successful in your work life, whether you're in civic leadership, public management, business, or you're an entrepreneur. We want you to be a great success. Right? It's great if you are very successful. That's wonderful. But we also want people who are committed to helping others along the way. So as you become very successful, then we want to know that in fact you also have an interest in helping other people become successful themselves. So giving back to your community can mean so many different things. There is no formula. You don't need to be involved in in associations or specific organizations, but you do need to show us that you have been involved in your community. And again, that can be so many different things. There's no formula. There's not one specific thing. But we do want to know that in fact you've already been active with those around you and with those in your community, and that you plan to continue to try to help others even as you progress. Even after you get this training, even after you become a great success, that's great. But we want to know that you want to help your country develop as well. Because that's what this is about. It's about helping you develop your skills and meet people who can help you take your projects or your business to that next level. But it's also about advancing Madagascar in this case, and advancing the countries all across Africa. We want people who care, who have the training necessary to be very successful, but who also care about making their countries better. And so that's really what it comes down to, is there are no rules, but we want to show that you care about something more than just yourself.
Okay.
I hope that's clear, yes?
I have a question. During the application, we have to choose a business or civic leadership or public management, and my problem is I would like to choose business and civic leadership. So what is the best? I'm a fashion designer, but I have many projects for the future.
Yeah.
I studied in agro management before, but I chose finally to be in fashion because I think it's the best way for me to help to develop people, even in the rural country, because we can. One of my projects is to produce a
Textiles?
textile, yeah. So I can rely my job now and my study in the university. So I want to perform my business now, but I want to apply also for civic leadership because of all my projects is to involve the most of people in my vision to develop the rural country and the modern
Okay, that's
civilization.
clear. So when you apply, you also choose your first choice and your second choice for track. So, and in some cases, we as the panel, once after we interview you, might decide that in fact you're more appropriate for one track or the other, maybe your second choice or even your third choice rather than your first choice. However, based on what you just described, it sounds like business and entrepreneurship would be the most appropriate track for you. And the reason is, it's great that you have plans for how you're going to then spread the wealth, if you will, and the projects you want to start in the rural communities once you are successful as a fashion designer. But first, you need to be successful as a fashion designer, right? And that's a business. And the two are not mutually exclusive. You can build your business and then also expand your projects to give back to the community, so civic leadership type work. You can do both of them together. But it sounds like to me that business and entrepreneurship would be the right track for you, because you need to first focus on your fashion design, and then from that you will be able to do all of the projects that you want to do in the communities.
Thank you.
So I would say business and entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Yes?
So it doesn't matter if the experience is from church?
No, that's fine. No, that's great. In fact, because we know that that's sort of a center of community life in many towns, right? And so, no, that's great. Just tell us what you have done and how you have been a part of that community.
My question is about the application.
Yeah?
Do you have a limit of age
Limit of age? Yes. The upper limit is 35. Yes.
For me, I am 17.
Okay.
It's possible to apply.
I think you should wait a few years. We will consider those that are under 25, but typically not below 21. So I would give it a few more years, and focus on your studies. Your English is already great. Keep working on that. Keep gaining experience, and then even if not through Yali, you can look for other opportunities for exchange programs down the road. But if you know any people, any others, if you have friends, colleagues, family members who are within the age range and you think they would qualify, you should tell them. Yeah? Yes.
Last years we created a new association with a foreigner. So my question is it possible to use this experience as in this
As an example?
Yeah. But
Yes.
this foreigner has is not connected with the American, but the foreigner in other countries. So
That's fine. That doesn't matter. We really just want to know more about you. So through your essays, we hope to gain a picture of who you are, right, and why you're applying. So we want you to tell us about your experiences, your challenges, your successes, and why you think that qualifies you to be a fellow. Right? So your association, that sounds great. Okay, but again, we want the full picture. So just by reading the essays, when you're writing your essays, think about that. When someone reads these essays, will they know who I am? Will they understand what I've done? Will they understand my experience and what my goals are for the future? Think about that when you write your essays and make sure it's clear. Because that's all we have to go on when we make the decisions for who to call in for an interview, is what you have written in the essays. So by reading the essays, we want to know, oh, great. Okay, so you're a young person. You've been involved in your community in this way. You've worked in this association, right? And you have reached X number of people and you have made a difference in X way, right? So we want to have a clear picture of what you've done by reading your essays. It's okay that it's from whatever country. We don't need to know the country.
okay, so my last question is,
Yes.
As I'm not yet a worker but trainee
Yeah.
of the customs. So my question is it possible to choose to apply to the category of the civil management?
Based on your experience so far? You can choose any category. As I said, it's up to you to decide which track is most appropriate for you given your experience so far. In some cases, and you can choose a first choice, second choice, third choice. In some cases, we will decide that in fact your application might be more appropriate for public management, not necessarily civic leadership, or vice versa. So you choose the track where you think you are the strongest.
So we can choose both?
Yes, you can choose a first choice and a second choice. Yes.
Well, honestly, like essays is really, it's really hard for Malagasy because we don't have that here. And can you talk about like what's essays? Can we find that, in a network, website or YouTube study, learning about how to write essays? Is there structures for, a form, typical form of essays? Is that the same as English essays? Because in Malagasy, honestly, we don't have that.
Yes.
If I'm sure. I think so.
Well, that's a good question. To answer the first part, yes, there are many resources to help you. You can look online. I'm sure there are some YouTube videos, but there are also reference books here at the IRC that you can use. But then, second, I would also advocate brevity. So keeping it short. So the essays, what you'll be writing will not be long essays, right? Where you start out with a premise, and you make an argument, and then you give a few examples, and then you have a conclusion where you wrap up what you have written. So what we are looking for are simply shorter answers to the questions on the application. So they are essay questions, but it's not the traditional longer form essay that we are looking for. We are looking for relatively short and clear answers to the questions on how you have demonstrated leadership, how you have overcome challenges, what have your successes been, what have your failures been, and how have you learned from them? What is your vision for the future? And why do you think that being a YALI fellow will help you achieve your goals? Right? So the answers can be one paragraph, and in fact I think there is a space limit, although I'm not sure what it is. You should look online. But it can be, 5 sentences, up to 10, or there's no rule. But the shorter is not bad. Just a short answer, as long as it's clear, and as long as it shows us why you are a strong candidate, then that's fine. But most importantly, the answer is there are guides available here and online for how to answer essay questions. Yes. So feel free to look at them. And you can even ask your friends. Anyone else you know who speaks English. This is another tip that I have. In addition to writing out your answers separate from the application and then pasting them in when you're ready, have someone read it. Once you have answered the questions, have someone else read it who is maybe more objective and can read it and can give you feedback. They can say, oh yes, this is very clear. Wow, you sound great by reading these. Or they can say, well, you might want to think about how you answered this question. I don't understand what you're trying to say. So they can give you feedback, both positive and ways to improve, particularly if they don't know exactly what you were trying to say. I know. It's hard to, it is true, and I know that it's true for everyone. It's hard to talk about how great you are. Because I know you are also a sort of a humble culture, right?
Yeah.
I know that it's not natural for most Malagasy to talk about how great they are.
Yeah, that's right.
I know, it's difficult. But I would just say try to find the balance, right? To tell us all the wonderful things you have done, because I'm sure you have done some great things. Tell us how you've already demonstrated leadership and how you've given back. If there are challenges that you have faced, right? And you can show how you learned from those and made yourself, and they made you into a stronger person, great. So it's okay to talk about all of that. But I would say just try to err on the side of telling us all the great things too, even though that might not come naturally. It's okay in this forum. We know that, we will know what you've done and what a good person you are by reading about how you're also giving back to your community, but we also want to know about how you've already shown leadership.
Do you have someone here in Madagascar to, if you have a question, because I'm not 21. I'm 19 years old.
Okay.
So I'm not really ready. I have to train about something.
Yes.
So is there someone here who can I talk, like, to ask questions and to ask advice from that?
Yes. Well, I would say you can always come to the IRC as long as you have the appropriate access.
Yes.
And if you want to talk about answering different essay questions, you might even want to practice. Look up this year's application, look at what the questions are, and if you want to practice, you can do that and come here and get feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. Good morning.
So there is a possibility to apply for the YALI if the age is under the 25.
Yes, as long as you are at least 21 and can show that you've already demonstrated leadership. We will consider candidates that are not yet 25. Yes. Yes? You can go next, sir.
My question is there a program, a partially for older people like me, for example? Because I like to lead people,
Yes.
but it's not an opportunity for me to apply but because my age is
Uh-huh.
very high.
Well, you should at least start with the Yali network. You can join the Yali network, and you can take the classes there and network with people online as a first step. Yes. And so I would recommend that as a start to sort of grow your network, and you then can acquire some of the same skills that are taught through the Yali Fellowship as well. Yes, sir?
So during the interview at the embassy for the semi-finalists, I want to know like who were the interviewers, how many they are,
Well,
and how they will score, how they will grade your.
Well, so the interviewers, there's a team. So I am on the team along with some of my colleagues here at the embassy, but it varies for each day. So we have a committee, a Yali committee, and then different people are interviewing at different times. But it always includes an American officer. It also includes some of our local staff within the public affairs section here at the embassy that work on the Yali program. It includes past Yali fellows, so Yali alumni are part of that interview panel, along with our friends and colleagues from within the American community here.
So at least like 4 to 5 people.
About 4 to 5, yes. Yes. And everyone grades as they see fit, you know. So there are no secrets there. We simply ask different questions or questions to expand more on what you've written in the application to try to understand who you are, what you have done, and what your goals are. And so it's not a trick. We simply want to learn more about the semifinalists to decide who we think are the absolute strongest candidates to choose as our fellows.
Because I'm ready for the.
You're ready?
Good luck.
Okay, good.
Good luck.
Very good.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, concerning the English skills,
Yeah.
should we have a certificate or should we graduate to the English schools or something like that? If you
It's not required. You can, but it's not required. What's required is for you to demonstrate your English skills. That's all that matters. So for example, when you write the essay questions, when you answer the essay answers, they should be written in proper English. So the grammar should be correct. Make sure you do spell check to make sure you're spelling words correctly, and your point should come across clearly. That's all that's necessary, is to demonstrate your English language skills.
Okay, so you mean there won't some test will do during this?
There's no test. No test. The test is simply what you show us. So, for example, if the English that you use to answer the questions is very strong, great. That will show us that you speak English very well. And then the interview would be the second stage. So we see your written English in the way you answer the questions, right? But then when we call in the semifinalists for the interviews, then we're just having a conversation with you similar to what I'm doing today. And so by talking with you, we will understand your level of English. But there's no test. The important thing I'd say is just to continue talking, getting practice. Practice in any language is what makes you stronger.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
I have one question. So there is a difficulty if the person don't have many experiences about to be a leader, or if they don't have many experiences to help others.
Well, I wouldn't call it a difficulty, but all I can say is that the program, the fellowship, is very competitive. And so we are looking for people who have already demonstrated leadership, either in school or in work or in your community, and who also demonstrate a vision for the future. So those who have experiences in their community or at university or in their professional life and can tell us about them and how they've already made them into a leader, and they can also show us how Yali will make them even stronger, those people will be the most competitive. That's all. But the thing is, leadership comes in so many different ways. There is no rule for what makes someone a leader, right? So it can be in your community. It can be at university. You could be involved in clubs at your university. You could be a mentor to others. For example, if you're helping others in the classroom and they have made progress because of your partnership with them, that's a sign of leadership to me, right? So leadership can be any number of things. I will say, though, and this is just important to keep in mind, those who can show that they have already demonstrated signs of leadership in whatever it is they've done, and there is no rule for what that should be, will be the most competitive. So I would recommend against, every year we get many applications where people talk about how they want to apply for the Yali Mandela Washington Fellowship because they want to become a leader. I see this every year. That is not competitive. That is not going to get you the fellowship. Yali is not going to make you a leader. We want people to say, I want to become a Yali Mandela Washington Fellow to improve my skills in X, whatever that is, in order to become more successful doing that and be able to give back to my community more. And then tell us all these specific examples. But don't say that you want to become a Yali Fellow to learn leadership. That won't work. It's not a school. It's for people who already have shown that they're leaders to become even better. So I hope that helps.
So
Yes.
my last question. So I heard about it, but I don't know if it's wrong or right. If we have a best project and we intended to do this yearly, and after this, American government could fund our project.
Well, there are never any guarantees, but for Yali Fellows who have returned from the fellowship in the United States, when they come back, then they are eligible to apply for other grants and other opportunities. So there are more opportunities that are shared with them when they come back that they can apply for. It's still competitive, but there is never a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yes. Last question.
Once the first step is done, the application.
Yeah.
Is the result disclosed, or is it revealed to the applicant?
Well, we contact everyone who has made it to the semifinals, as you say, to the interview round. If you don't hear from us to invite you for an interview, then that means that your application wasn't selected for that next stage. We only contact people who then we are inviting in for an interview. Now, it doesn't mean it was bad, ever. It just means that, in fact, it just didn't make the final cut for whatever reason. And so there's often no way to tell. But then if indeed it doesn't work, then you can think about how to make it better for the next year. Yeah. Yes.
I just want to say, last year I made the application and I didn't select it. And they sent me an email that I was not.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, so everyone gets an email. Sorry. Sorry, that's good. I'm glad you did. And I hope you will apply again.
Yes, I will do it.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. This was fun, and I hope it was helpful.
Yes.
I encourage you to go to yali.state.gov, because in addition to the application, there are frequently asked questions there. So there are many of the questions that you might have if you think of others are already there. And so they will give you some of that information. Okay? And good luck.
Thank you.
Have you mastered the English language? Are you between 25 and 35 years old? Have you made a difference in your community? Are you Malagasy or Comorian and live in sub-Saharan Africa? You are the young leader we are looking for to benefit from a 6-week leadership course at a top American university and interact with extraordinary American government, civic, and business leaders. Apply for the Mandela Washington Fellowship 2018. The online application is now open on yali.state.gov from September 13th to October 11th. Don't miss this opportunity.